This is a 1 ounce gold coin and it's worth $1,800 today, while this silver coin of the same weight is only $23. Both are precious metals and they have been used as money for thousands of years, but which exactly should you invest in? I'm Sean, and in this video, we are going to talk about gold versus silver and which is the better option for you. And if you stay all the way to the end, I'll be revealing how I am personally invested in gold and silver and my reasoning behind it. In this channel, we cover everything about gold and silver. So if you want to learn more about investing in precious metals, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow and I really appreciate it. Let's dive straight in. When it comes to precious metals, the first thing you'll realize is that gold is much more expensive than silver. Now, while this might sound obvious, $1,800 an ounce gold and $23 an ounce silver means that silver is much more affordable compared to gold. And at these prices, the gold to silver ratio is around 78 is to 1, meaning 1 ounce of gold has the same value as 78 ounces of silver. So if you are starting out in precious metals and you don't really have a big budget to invest, silver is truly a good option to get started, right? You can start off by just buying 1 ounce silver coins, which are very affordable. And just for $100, you can get 3 to 4 coins, or you can save up for a 10 ounce bar that looks just as good or is easier to store as well. Now, not only is silver currently much cheaper than gold, it is a less dense metal, right? That means it requires much more storage space for the same weight. That's why when you see this silver coin over here, it is actually significantly larger than the gold coin of the same weight. That's why gold is most commonly used to store value around the world because you can really contain a huge amount of wealth in just a single ounce, right? Like if I put $10,000 into gold, I will have almost 6 ounces of gold, right? Which is very portable and easy to travel around with. But the same $10,000 in silver will mean 470 ounces of silver or over 15 kg of silver, right? And it's even more than the amount of silver that you see right now on this table, right? And that's a serious amount of weight to lug around. That is something that you need to consider when choosing between the two precious metals. And this is something especially important if you decide to focus mainly on silver. And trust me, as you start stacking, as you start building up your stack, it can really accumulate. And before you know it, you have like 10, 20, or even 30 kg worth of silver lying around. Now, ask yourself this: do you have enough space to store and hide your silver at home? Or do you need to store them in third party vaults, right? And all this will entail additional costs that you really need to think about. So, what really affects the price of gold and silver? This is perhaps the biggest difference between the two precious metals and is sometimes the most confused. The most common narrative about gold and silver is that they are both money and they have been used as money since the days of ancient Rome. Now, that's 100% true, but we have come a long time since the days of Julius Caesar, and it's time to see how the modern world views gold and silver today. Sure, they are both inflation hedges, but that's only likely half of the story, right? As more money is being printed to the system, every single investment asset will most likely eventually rise in price in nominal terms, right? But gold and silver are a little bit more complex than just money sponges soaking up excess cash. Now, there are two biggest differences that you need to know between gold and silver. Now, firstly, gold is primarily seen as a monetary metal and a store of value. There's a reason why there's a saying, as good as gold, the metal doesn't tarnish at all, it's beautiful, and it has a very big emotional impact on people all over the world, from America to India to China. And if you look back at the currency crisis in the past, such as the Weimar Germany hyperinflation in 1923, or the most recent collapse of Venezuela's economy a few years back, people always turn to gold to protect their wealth and to transact in it when trust in the local currency is lost. And if we take a look at the demand for gold, we can see that over 80% of the demand goes into silver and jewelry, while less than 8% actually goes into technology and industrial demand. So, investment and jewelry are stores of value, and that's why I believe that the primary objective of gold is to store your purchasing power, right? Now, silver is a very different metal, and yes, it is partially a store of value, and higher inflation definitely does push up its price. But because silver is such a versatile metal and It really has incredible properties such as being the best conductor of electricity. It is widely used in industry, right? In fact, almost 70% of silver's demand goes into industrial uses such as electronics and solar panels. And that is the marvelous thing about silver, right? It has dual purposes, both as a minor store of value and mainly as an industrial metal. And that is why the fate of silver is more tied to the health of the economy. If the economy is booming, especially with the rise of green technology and renewable energy, you can expect the industrial demand for silver to really increase. And that is the reason why I own some silver, right? I'm not really betting on it being the ultimate store of value if inflation really hits, but I believe the shift to electric cars and solar panels is inevitable. And because of that, I really want to position myself to benefit more by investing into silver, right? Look at this coin, such a beautiful Year of the Tiger coin from the Perth Mint. So you really have to ask yourself, right, which story do you believe more? Is it the story that the Fed has printed too many dollars and inflation will come back to steal our purchasing power? Or is it that the world is going to eventually move towards greener technology and progress will continue? And this is the great thing about gold and silver is that both of these stories can be true at the same time. And that is why I am into both precious metals. Now, when you invest into gold and silver, these are some of the most volatile assets around apart from Bitcoin. That means you can easily see swings of 5 to 10% gain or loss within a single week. And between the two, silver is much more volatile than gold. That means if gold were to rise or fall by around 5%, silver can easily react with 10% gains or losses at the same time. And it's all because that silver is a much smaller market compared to gold. Now, gold is a $12 trillion market compared to silver's $1.2 trillion market, right, of investable gold and silver. And that means that silver's market is actually 10 times smaller than gold. So any fundamental shift or change in supply and demand will move the silver price more wildly than gold. And you can see that when gold rises or falls, silver reacts twice or even thrice as much. And this is something you have to ask yourself. Do you have the stomach to endure 10, 20, or even 30% swings in the price of silver within a short period of time? There's no point holding silver if you start to panic and sell at the first sign of a drop, and in that case, gold is a more stable asset than you can hold. But if you have the emotional endurance, if you have the stomach for it, if you have the fortitude, you can actually enjoy greater gains when you hold silver compared to gold. Now, one big point I have to point out is that central banks have been aggressively buying gold since the 2008 crisis. Even at the high levels of $1,700 to $1,800 an ounce, central banks in Singapore and Ireland are stockpiling gold, and the people running the banks aren't dumb. And when you're choosing between gold and silver, you have to take this into consideration, right? Most of the central banks' reserves in the world are stored in US dollars because that's the reserve country. And every time a central bank buys gold, they are effectively shorting the dollar and they are going long on gold. And that is why gold prices are being supported by central bank buying and looks at it as a store of value. It's really a case of if all hell breaks loose, the central banks, they want to have an asset that's proven to protect the nation's wealth, right? They don't want the country to go bankrupt. However, they don't really look at silver that way. There isn't really a central bank in the world today that's really taking silver seriously as a store of value. I believe that there is a bigger agenda behind the buying of gold by central banks. Every time they buy gold, they are signaling to the world that they are losing trust in the US dollar and they believe gold is a better asset. In fact, Russia's gold holdings is over 20% of their international reserves, which is quite a lot. And could it be that they are slowly de-dollarizing and quietly hoping for a return back to a gold standard or something like it? This could be a conspiracy theory, but I personally believe that this is what they're aiming for, especially China and Russia. So if you're holding gold, you will have central banks on your side, but for silver, it will mainly be driven by industrial demand and by private investors. Last but not least, when you invest into gold and silver, you need to take a look at the physical premiums you need to pay, right? Now, if you aren't aware, the gold and silver price that you see isn't the final price you have to pay to get the physical metal in your hands. you will need to pay a premium, which is essentially the cost of refining the metal and turning it into a physical bar or coin that you can hold. And the thing is that silver premiums today have been rising and are very high compared to gold, right? So, for example, this 1 ounce gold maple over here has a physical premium of only 4%, while the same silver ounce maple has a premium of around 15 to 20%, and that's almost 3 to 4 times more, right? Maybe even 5 times more. And that's a significant upfront cost that you have to be aware of, right? Because when you buy physical gold, you kind of lose less upfront on your investment, but silver is very different. And the premiums you pay can really add up, and when you sell them back to the dealer, you might only recover a fraction of it back. And chances are, depending on the market, they might just buy it back at the spot price. And that is the blow you need to take with physical precious metals. You have to pay a premium to get it out of the financial system, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's the whole point of holding precious metals. That's why if you want to buy physical silver and avoid the bigger premiums, I really recommend getting the bigger bars such as the 10 ounce bars or even the 100 ounce bars, right? That way the premiums fall down to less than 10%, and for the bigger bars such as the 100 ounce bars, you're only going to pay around 5 to 7% and even lower if you get lucky. Very few people actually talk about this, but I do have to mention it. As more and more people start piling on onto silver, because it is going mainstream and it's more affordable, the premiums could continue to rise and rise. Now, eventually, there will come a point in time you want to sell your metals. Maybe it's for an emergency where you need to raise cash, or maybe you see an opportunity that you need cash for. For example, a portion of my metals is to buy up cheap dividend paying stocks when the market crashes down to earth, right? Right now, it's very, very high. And when it comes to selling your precious metals, you want to liquidate them fast. In this case, gold wins over silver. You'll be able to sell it more easily at a price that you want because there's just a bigger pool of buyers out there. There are pawn shops, banks, bullion dealers, private investors all ready to trade cash for your gold. But silver is going to be slightly more difficult. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still sell your silver easily, but it will take some time, especially if you want to recover some of the physical premium and not just sell at the spot price, right? Chances are your local coin shop and bullion dealers will be some of the easiest and fastest places to liquidate your silver, but they will take their pound of flesh. So you do have to take this into consideration as well. And if saving time is important to you and being able to raise cash is critical, then you want to go for gold. It is much more liquid, there are more buyers, and selling it will be much faster. So, how should you invest into gold and silver? How should you play the game? Now, I believe holding both gold and silver is important, and they should be part of any good portfolio, right? Gold is the inflation and fear trade. You are essentially betting that the world will pay for printing too much money and the eventual reset to sound money will happen, right? Silver is a bet on the growing economy and the world becoming more technologically advanced. I personally believe that both of the scenarios will happen within the next 5 to 10 years. Even today, we are suffering from over 6% inflation, and this will probably get worse. And when it comes to physical precious metals, it's about stacking for the long term. And that's the whole point. You want it as an insurance in the event of a financial collapse and not really a quick trade. So I promised earlier I'll reveal how I'm playing the gold and silver game. And here it is, guys. I'm 80% into gold and 20% into silver, right? I truly believe that the inflation story will be worse than the silver story, and we are slowly inching towards a kind of a monetary reset. And I believe gold will definitely play a big role in this, and people who hold gold will stand to benefit big time when it happens, right? On the other hand, I also hold some silver because we'll be moving towards green tech, and silver is going to be a strategic metal, especially for developing solar panels and electric vehicles. Now, the big issue I personally have with silver is the rising premiums, which I'm afraid will continue to go up, right? I'm very much a return on investment kind of person, and that's another reason why I personally choose to hold more gold. But whether you choose to stack gold or silver, remember that it is a long term investment. You definitely want to ride out the wild swings and look at the bigger picture of preserving your purchasing power and building wealth. So there you have it, guys. I believe that gold and silver are fantastic investments in a world where the dollar and currencies are slowing dying. They are fantastic hedges, and everyone should consider owning some, whether you're looking to diversify your investments or looking to profit big time down the road. Let me know what you think. Are you pro gold or do you believe more in the potential silver has? Is the silver story brighter than gold? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for more gold and silver videos. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon.